I found out that my pregnant fiancé was having an affair with my dad, so I revealed it at the baby's gender reveal party. Afterward, she attempted to accuse me of being the cheater. Hello everyone. I don't know how these social platforms work. I've never been one to openly show my feelings to the crowd on a social media channel that is accessible to everyone. For crying out loud, I wouldn't share my feelings with the closest of friends, even if someone had a gun to my head. I am very reserved and do not prefer attention. But things have been very bad lately, and I cannot trust the opinions and judgments of my friends or well-wishers because they would all be biased. I want someone to hear the facts and tell the truth so that I can be sure that their statements are not influenced by their acquaintance with me. I am not going to disclose my real name or the names of anyone else in my life. I will use fake names in my story. However, the story will remain the same. Just a few months ago, I was the happiest person to walk the surface of the earth. I woke up with a grin plastered on my face and slept with immense contentment. The level of satisfaction I had over my life was almost unrealistic. I am saying this because I've never been a person to thank God for what He gave me or, spend hours and hours in Sunday church. And believe me, God has given me gifts that are otherwise considered privileges. I am filthy rich because of my businesswoman mother. I have a PhD, my job pays me very well, and I already own an apartment in New York City. I never took a penny from my mother. It's all my hard work. I, 32M, went out of my way to secure my future. I come from a competitive family, so can you blame me for being as perfect as possible? No siblings to irritate me, no overbearing parents, relatives who never interfered in my life, and my friend circle has some of the most accomplished citizens of my country. I had everything sorted. And then I met this gorgeous woman. I think the perfect name that would fit her is Karen. You'll know why soon. I met Karen at a conference where I delivered a speech related to the latest advancements in the field of biotechnology and healthcare. I won't bore you with the details of the conference, more so because I don't want the curious minds out there to track me down. Just kidding. Karen, 28F now, is immensely knowledgeable and knows what she's talking about. She also comes from a very affluent family, and we clicked in an instant. I was 28 back then, and she was pregnant and expecting our baby. I was in a phase where nothing was working out for me. My research project was seeing way more hurdles than it should be. My mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and my best friend was going through a very bad divorce, and I couldn't console or be there for her. I will tell you why shortly. Of course, I was overjoyed to know that Karen was expecting a child. What else can a man ask for but a token of his love delivered to his doorstep? Everything was great. I was spoiling Karen and treating her like a queen, which I thought she was. I was always present at home, even putting my professional commitments in the back seat. I still remember it was a Tuesday and I was checking my emails in the morning. That is what I usually do. Wake up, sit with a cup of coffee, answer back to important emails, and trash the rest. There was this anonymous mail that caught my attention. The subject line had text in caps lock. The letters were in my face. It was evident that the person on the other end wanted me to see the email at any cost. So I opened it and found a few pictures. It would be an understatement to say that I was shocked. You wouldn't believe me, but I could feel my heart thumping in my throat, my body heating up, and my legs beginning to quiver. I thought I was going to faint. They were Karen's photographs with my father, my biological father. She was on his lap with her hands around my father's neck. His face was very close to hers, and his hands were beneath her skirt. Judging by the lighting and the furniture, the 2 wine glasses on the tea table before them, the image was clicked in a public pub or club. The next picture was more devastating. It was both of them in the living room of my New York apartment. Yes, the same one I mentioned earlier. We stayed there after she decided to move in with me. They were making out. This picture was blurred as if the photographer was in a hurry. There were many such photographs. A day before I got this email, I bought a ring for Karen to propose to her. If we are having a baby, there's no point in waiting anymore. At least that is what I thought. So just imagine how I felt after seeing that she was cheating on me with my father, of all people. I tried to reply back to the email to ask if this anonymous person was a joke. I didn't want to lose my happy bubble, so I immediately took to the comfort of wishful thinking. We are in the AI generation, so these images could have been easily created and not clicked. Also, who could have entered my apartment to click the photographs? So I let it go. In the same week, Karen stumbled upon the ring I bought for her and started screaming in happiness. I had that gut feeling, this urge to pull that ring away from her hands, but I resisted. If I make a mistake, if I question her loyalty, I might lose her forever. I kept quiet and let her celebrate. She called her family and mine to say that we were engaged. While she was speaking to my father, I paid keen attention to their conversation. More so than necessary. I found nothing remotely wrong with it. They always had a good rapport, and it was just the same. That's when I dismissed the photos as mere images. It could be someone who hated Karen and wanted her life ruined. I let it go. Now I want to go a year back in time to tell you about my best friend. This is very important to understand my present situation. Chloe, 31F, has been my best friend since my college days. We were those people who never tried to jump from being friends to banging each other. Almost everyone in college ended up doing it, but not us. We were like siblings, being there for each other and supporting each other's dreams and aspirations. She was like my therapist, always had answers and guidance to my problems. She met her boyfriend right out of college, and he was a great guy. They got married shortly after and had a daughter. I always stayed in touch with them irrespective of where I was on the globe. When Karen came into my life, I immediately introduced her to Chloe. I wanted Chloe to approve of Karen. I know there is no need for that, but some part of me wanted Chloe to look at my girlfriend and say that I made the right choice. Chloe and Karen were great with each other. We went out together multiple times, and they never showed any animosity towards each other until one day, Karen suddenly said that she disapproved of my friendship with Chloe. I asked her why, and she justified her decision by saying Chloe wants to get into your pants. I discovered that my pregnant fiancé was cheating on me with my dad, so I exposed her at the baby's gender reveal party. Afterwards, she tried to frame me as the cheater. It's very obvious, can't you see? Not once in our decades worth of friendship did I feel that Chloe wanted to be anything more than friends. I explained the same thing to Karen, but she wouldn't listen. This is when that 1-year honeymoon period of our relationship ended. We used to fight almost every day because of her assumption of Chloe's intentions. This was also around the time when Chloe and her husband were filing for divorce. They had many differences, and her husband started doing drugs and flipping through girls like they were pages of a novel. It is only natural that Chloe wanted to stay away from such a man and also keep her daughter away from his influence. She used to call me and tell me how the divorce proceedings were happening, share her problems with me, but Karen used to frown upon it. She used to say that since Chloe's old husband is out of the picture, she wants me to fill the void. It made no sense. If I pointed that out, she'd scream, cry, and start saying that I'd one day leave her for Chloe. I understand that friendships are valuable, but we were not those young people from college anymore. We had to get our priorities right. If I have to choose someone, it must be my life partner. I would be spending the rest of my life with Karen, so it was only right that I respect her insecurities and acknowledge her concerns. If she didn't want Chloe in my life, I wouldn't engage with her like I used to. Of course, I didn't want to block Chloe completely. It's not fair. I told the same thing to Karen, and she agreed reluctantly. Just as I had promised to Karen, I spoke to Chloe occasionally. I made up reasons to not meet her. Even if she called, I'd spend more time on the phone or video call with her daughter and not her. The sudden change in the dynamics is very obvious. You step into Chloe's shoes and think for an instant. If you were her, wouldn't you be baffled to see your best friend drift away when nothing went wrong? Chloe was in a bad headspace, and I only made it worse with my stupid behavior. One night, she suddenly showed up at my doorstep, fuming with anger. Chloe is a very stubborn woman, I must admit. If she had something on her mind, there was no point stopping her from doing what she intended. Karen was also present in the apartment that night. She was sitting on the couch, watching TV, and munching on some homemade fries. I was working on my laptop and was barely concentrating. The doorbell rang, and it was Chloe on the other side. Without wasting a second, she started throwing questions at me about what was going on and why I was being a stranger all of a sudden. Karen interrupted and said that she needed to stay away from me. She just said it as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Just imagine, how could Chloe stay calm after hearing such words? She started shouting back at Karen. It was a verbal fight I had never witnessed in my life before. She started calling her names and whatnot. I don't even want to go back and remember it because, let me tell you, I cannot control myself. I can lose my senses and punch the wall beside me, and I don't want that to happen. That night, after Chloe left the apartment in tears, Karen asked me not to answer her calls or engage with her ever again. I should have seen the red flag, but let's not forget that just a few months after this incident, Karen and I got engaged. So you can understand how much I loved Karen and respected her insecurities. Chloe was not in my life anymore, and Karen got what she wanted. In the present day, after I dismissed the email with the photos, I still wanted to do my own research and cross-check everything. I didn't want to be an idiot who turns a blind eye to the elephant in the room. While Karen was busy with her gender reveal party preparations, I installed a few cameras in our apartment. I am a tech guy, so it was not difficult for me to install a camera. You wouldn't be able to identify them if you enter my apartment. That's how perfect I am with my stuff. Karen's friends and family were present in our apartment for the party. Her belly was huge, and everyone was congratulating us. She also went on to say that we were expecting twins. Karen asked me to host the party while she was socializing with everyone else. I kept checking the feed on my phone while taking care of the guests, and after a while, I noticed someone being too friendly with Karen in the back. It was my father. My father got me a wine glass and asked me to have a drink and relax. But I knew his intentions already. He wanted me to get drunk so that he and Karen could spend some quality time together. I pretended to drink wine and asked everyone to gather around me so that I could make an announcement. The decor was gorgeous, and the cake was right in the middle of the living room. I called Karen to my side and pretended to make a very romantic announcement, but in reality, I told everyone about Karen's misdeeds with my father. Karen's expression changed in a split second. She tried to deny it, but my mother and Karen's parents were already in a state of shock. I showed everyone the email, the photographs, and the videos I had shot in the last few days. Karen had no words. After I exposed Karen and my father, the room fell silent. The happiness and excitement that filled the air moments ago had vanished, replaced by shock and disbelief. My mother was in tears, unable to comprehend how her husband and daughter-in-law could betray her and her son so horribly. Karen's parents were equally stunned, their faces pale with shock and embarrassment. Karen tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "This is not true. He's lying. These are fake," she screamed, pointing at me with a trembling hand. But her protestations were weak, and the evidence was undeniable. My father stood there, silent and defeated. He didn't even try to defend himself. The guilt was written all over his face. I turned at him, my anger boiling over. "How could you do this to your own son?" I demanded, my voice shaking. He looked at me, his eyes filled with regret, but he said nothing. The room erupted into chaos. Karen's friends and family were whispering among themselves, some of them glaring at her and my father. My friends were in shock, unable to process what had just happened. I could see Chloe's face in my mind, her words echoing in my head. "Be careful who you trust." Karen, still trying to salvage the situation, turned to her parents. "Mom, Dad, you have to believe me. I would never do something like this. He's trying to ruin my life." Her parents looked at her, their expressions a mix of disbelief and disappointment. They didn't know what to believe anymore. I didn't wait for their responses. I had had enough. I walked out of the apartment, leaving the chaos behind me. I needed to get away, to clear my head and figure out what to do next. I went to my car and drove to the nearest park, parking the car and sitting on a bench. The cold air helped to calm my nerves, but the pain in my chest was still there, a constant reminder of the betrayal I had just experienced. I sat there for hours, replaying everything in my head. The signs were there all along, but I had been too blind to see them. I had ignored my instincts and trusted the wrong people. I had let Karen and my father into my life, and they had shattered it. Eventually, my phone rang. It was my mother. I took a deep breath and answered. "Hello? Where are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. "We need to talk." "I'm at the park," I replied. I needed some time to think. "I understand," she said softly, "but we need to figure out what to do next. This can't go on." I agreed and told her I would be home soon. After hanging up, I sat there for a few more minutes, gathering my thoughts. I knew things would never be the same again, but I had to face reality and deal with the situation. When I got back to the apartment, Karen was gone. Her parents had taken her away, and my father had left too. My mother was sitting on the couch, her face red from crying. I sat down next to her, and we hugged each other, finding some comfort in each other's presence. "We need to move forward," I said quietly. "I can't stay here anymore. This place is full of memories I want to forget." My mother nodded. "We'll figure something out. We'll get through this together." In the following weeks, I made arrangements to move out of the apartment. I found a new place, smaller and more modest, but it was a fresh start. I focused on my work, burying myself in research and projects to distract myself from the pain. Chloe reached out to me, offering her support, and we slowly rekindled our friendship. Karen tried to contact me several times, but I ignored her. I couldn't bring myself to speak to her or hear her lies. She even tried to frame me as the cheater, spreading rumors among our mutual friends and colleagues. But the evidence I had was irrefutable, and most people saw through her lies. I discovered that my pregnant fiancé was cheating on me with my dad. so I exposed her at the baby's gender reveal party. Afterward, she tried to frame me as the cheater. Despite the turmoil and heartache, I knew I had done the right thing by exposing the truth. It was a painful lesson, but it taught me the importance of trusting my instincts and being careful about who I let into my life. Life slowly started to get better. I focused on rebuilding myself, both emotionally and professionally. My mother and I grew closer, supporting each other through the difficult times, and Chloe was there for me, just as she had always been, reminding me that true friends are a rare and precious gift. Looking back, I realized that sometimes the people who hurt us the most are the ones we least expect. But it's in those moments of betrayal and heartache that we find our true strength and resilience. And as painful as it was, I knew I would come out of this stronger and wiser, ready to face whatever life threw my way.